Hi everybody, welcome to the Chats with Chaudhry. I hope you're safe and well. Today I'm continuing my Reflection and Forecast 23-24 interview series where I sit down with senior executives across the life science and pharma value chain to get their views on the previous year and look ahead to this year. And today I'm delighted to be joined by Almac Sciences VP of Chemistry, Dan Bayston, who's going to talk all about Almac Sciences. So Dan, first of all, it's lovely to see you. How are you?
Yeah, good morning. I'm pretty well this morning, towards the end of the week, so getting ready for the weekend. But
Good, excellent.
yeah.
And where are you calling in from out of interest?
Yeah, so I'm based in Craigavon in Northern Ireland. Beautiful part of the United Kingdom, and yeah, a lot been happening around this part of the world with the political situation, but it's all looking positive at the moment.
Fantastic. All right. Well, look, let's kick off for my first question. It's really for people who are not familiar with Almac Sciences. Who are you? What do you do? And also, I know you're part of the Almac Group as well. So tell us a little bit more about that as well.
Yeah, okay. So the Almac Group is an organisation involved in the pharma industry as a contract organisation. We're a group of about 8,000 people, covering anything from diagnostics, API, drug product, packaging, distribution throughout the group. The part of the organisation that I'm involved in is the Almac Sciences part of the organisation. We're all involved in the API, so the chemical development, analytics, all supporting drug substance activities. Involved in projects from early phase development, or first time scale up, right through to late phase development and commercialization. So as a overall, that's what we do within sciences.
Fantastic. So looking back on 2023, then what have been some of the successes for you guys? What's some of the highlights from an Almac Sciences perspective?
Yeah, so there's obviously a lot that goes on. I'll pick out maybe three things that have been really interesting for us. Firstly, as part of the Almac Sciences Group, we have a technology department that are involved in developing new technology to help us in the chemical synthesis. So specifically around the biocatalysis and flow chemistry technologies. What we've seen during the last year is those technologies have really become more and more integrated into the development that we're doing, the development and and the manufacturing that we're doing that supplies the APIs that ultimately are going to go into the clinical trials. So that's been a big improvement for us, big change for us to see that become really integrated and seeing it very frequently in the projects that we're running, and we see that as a bit of a differentiator. The second aspect I'll point out is we're starting to see more of our late phase projects starting to go towards commercialization, and we're really helping our clients through that pathway, through that late phase pathway. And there's one in particular that's been a highlight for me this year, a project that we've been working on for a small biotech company. It's a controlled drug used to treat anxiety and depression, and we've taken that through process validation, and we're at the stage now where we're writing up the validation package to send to the client to help them with their new drug application. So we're pretty hopeful that during the next 12 months that drug will go through its approval pathway and will become the commercial manufacturer of that drug. So that's pretty exciting for us. The third topic that I wanted to mention is about our expansion plans. During the last few years, we've been wanting to expand our offering, mainly around the manufacturing. During the last year, we've installed an extension to our pilot plant. So 2 new 1,000 litre reactors have come online. We've built a new warehouse to house all our start materials, intermediates, final API, to a size that really future-proofs us for our future plans that we want to do. And we've started to build a new API plant. That plant is partway through construction. half of it is now complete, and we're just starting to move our peptide manufacturing into that building. We're just transitioning that over now. And we're well advanced now with the other half of that plant, which is the small molecule part of the plant. So yeah, that's been pretty important for us during this last year, and yeah, we'll see more of that as we keep on going into next year.
Fantastic. Now, moving away from Almac itself, but looking at the industry in a wider perspective, I mean, what do you see as some of the highlights in the last 12 months within the sector itself and some of the developments that you've seen in 2023?
Yeah, I don't know if we'd call it highlights, but what we've seen is a little bit of tightening of funding
Right.
in the sector, really for seen in the early phase development projects. Where we're seeing less of those come through from our clients, whether it be biotech companies or pharma companies, particular our small biotech clients. We're seeing less and less of those new early phase projects coming through. And I think that's really because of the tightening of the funding from the venture capitalists. And them wanting to be more cautious in terms of where they do spend their funding.
Sure.
So those early phase projects are becoming pretty competitive in terms of bidding for them. On the other hand, where we are seeing the funding continue is with those projects that are already well established, maybe got through certain toxicology and clinical milestones, and are going into sort of mid-phase, phase 2, phase 3, and later development. We're seeing continued investment in those, and that's been reflective in terms of how our business balance has been. Years ago, we would have said we were very much an early phase company. During the last year in particular, we've seen that flip over to being, we still see some early phase project, but really we're seeing the balance now moving a little bit more towards that late phase and commercialization in our portfolio.
That's quite interesting you say that, because I was at Pharma Pack last week, which is all about packaging, of course, and drug delivery. And it's interesting that there was a very busy show, but what was interesting was a lot of the exhibitors were saying how they had a lot of interest from companies who obviously are now getting to that late phase and commercialization stage. So they're now thinking of packaging. And that sort of reflects, I think, what you've just said there, that those projects are now coming to fruition in terms of now you need to get it out to market. And therefore you need to start looking even more so, if you haven't already, in terms of how you get them out there in terms of their packaging and delivery, really.
Yeah, that's right. So, and I think it's seen in other publications that you would read out there, that's where the focus is for the investors, for to spend their money on things that are a little bit closer to market.
Right, well, that's interesting, and that's a lovely segue actually to move into 2024 and say, what do you think are going to be some of the trends from a macro level, I suppose, looking at funding and development for 2024? I mean, what do you think we can expect to see? And no one's going to hold you to it, but what do you think is going to happen in 2024?
Sure. So, look, I mean, there's obviously been a trend towards biologics and antibody drug conjugates over the last few years. That's going to continue for sure, and they will continue to increase. Obviously, my area, small molecule API, that has got no signs of going away. That part of the business, and if you look back over the past 5 years, the number of approvals from the FDA for small molecules has increased over the past few years, expecting that to continue. So yeah, expecting continued investment in small molecules. Now, obviously, we've just said that where is the investment going to be? Well, let's hope that there's going to be more investment in some of those early phase projects that start feeding the pipeline. But yeah, who can tell with the political situation around the world? So
Sure.
Time will tell.
Sure. Well, one question I've got to you in terms of looking at trends is that when I spoke to people last year, supply chain was a big topic, and it has been for a number of years since the pandemic, of course. So have you found, I mean, obviously you talked about the expansion of your plant and so on and facilities. So is that a reflection of these sort of issues around supply chain that you've now started growing that? Well, and have you seen supply chain issues ease off at all, or do you think they'll ease off going forward?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, part of the industry trend is to reshore manufacturing to Western assets to try and avoid some of the issues that are out there in the political situation. And yeah, we're seeing that, and that's part of the reason why we want to expand our capabilities because in our view, from what we're seeing, as soon as we build the plant, we're going to be able to fill that with projects. We're seeing enough out there. Nevertheless, ultimately, there will continue to be raw materials that need to be sourced and probably will be sourced from the Far East. I can't really see that changing, but it's to maybe to try and do as much as we can in Western assets, and that's where we're trying to help out the marketplace.
Right. And two other things I wanted to ask you in terms of trends for this coming year is the issue of sustainability, which obviously has been a huge factor and has grown a lot amongst people, big companies and the CRSs, etc. How much has sustainability impacted you in terms of your business unit, what you do? And then I've got one other question, which is related to AI, but we'll talk about that once you talk about sustainability, maybe.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, you're right. There's a big push for CSR in all companies, and our clients will come and audit to ensure that we're doing the right thing in terms of our environmental credentials. And it's part of the bidding process these days that
All
you
right, okay.
need to be able to prove that you've got the right environmental ways of working. So yes, we're seeing that. We've got activities going on such as reducing our plastic, reducing our waste that we use, trying to recycle where we can. In terms of the technology part, of course, part of our offering is a biocatalysis offering to try and use enzymes and chemical processes. By their very nature, they tend to run in aqueous solutions and allows us to use fewer chemical steps to get to an endpoint. So in its own right, you could consider that kind of technology to be more environmentally friendly than traditional chemical synthesis.
Fantastic. Now, as I said, the other question I want to ask you was about talking about trends and looking at last year's trends and looking ahead to it. How important is AI and machine learning in terms of what you do, and what impact do you think it will have in the coming years?
Yeah, in terms of what we do ourselves, we've not really seen impact directly for the work that we do, but it's early days. Obviously, AI is having a big impact on the drug discovery
Sure.
ways of working, and potentially that could allow more drugs to be able to come through into development, which are maybe more optimized. So certainly, what we're seeing is the chemical structure of drugs become more complex, with more chiral centers, more unusual heteroaromatics. We're also seeing the solubility of drugs continue to be poor, which isn't good for a drug. Perhaps AI can really help in that discovery element to try and solve some of those solubility issues.
Right.
In terms of what we might see with AI in the coming years, probably more focused on the manufacturing element to be able to monitor and control manufacturing, trying to use some sort of AI to help with that consistency in the manufacturing. But yeah, that's a little way off, I think, from where we are.
Right. Okay. Now, looking at trends then and innovations, what from your particular area, what sort of trends do you see for this year and in sort of technology and innovation do you see happening in 2024?
Yeah, so for us, it's going to be that continuation of the biocatalysis and the flow chemistry. Um, we're well established now with our biocatalysis processes. That's well integrated with everything we do. The next step for us is the flow chemistry. We've built a team developing those processes. We've upscaled a couple of those flow processes during this year. During the coming year, we're going to be investing more in that flow chemistry in both our non-GMP manufacturing and our GMP manufacturing. So our aim is to be able to run that flow chemistry in GMP manufacturing during this year.
Brilliant. And so my final question is, I mean, it's from an Almac Sciences perspective, what can we expect to see from Almac Sciences in 2024? Obviously, you can't reveal everything, but what can we expect to see from you as a business this year?
Yeah, so we'll be continuing our expansion. By the end of this year, we're expecting to have our new API plant constructed and installed. So 4 large reactors at 4,000 litre scale, allowing us to make hundreds of kilos, perhaps small ton quantities of API. So yeah, the installation complete by the end of this year. It will be go live. We'll still then in early 2025 need to do the commissioning and qualification of the facility. We're expecting our first live projects in mid-2025 in that facility. That's really where our main focus is going to be during this year.
Fantastic. Well, look, Dan, I appreciate taking time to talk to me and looking back on last year and giving me some thoughts for this year as well. Viewers, if you'd like to learn more about Almac Sciences, you can click on the link above this video and learn more about Almac Sciences, what they do. And there will be lots of events throughout the year, so you can meet the team in person at shows throughout Europe and in the States and other parts of the world as well. Dan, I really appreciate taking the time. I hope you have a fantastic 2024. Lots of success with the new facility and the expansion. I hope it all goes really, really well.
Okay, thank you very much, Razan. Good to speak to you.
Good to speak to you. And viewers, thank you for watching. I hope you have a fantastic 2024. And until next time, as always, stay well and stay safe. Bye-bye.